welcome to the Higher Education Access Corner. I'm Deanna Brown.
And I'm Tiffanie DeVan.
And today we are going to be talking about how to de-stress in December. So at this time of the year, you know, it's usually a stressful time for students and teachers. You're wrapping up finals and major school exams. And then there are the end of the year work projects and something new with work goals. So throw in the holiday season and everybody's stressed out. Well, one thing that shouldn't stress you out is that the FAFSA form is actually going to be released at the end of December. So the FAFSA form will now be released by December 31st. So that will be something that you do not have to stress about. Today, we are going to start talking about some of the things to get ready for that, and then also talk about some different things that you can do to de-stress for the holidays. So I don't know, did you want to kick it off, Tiffanie, about what are some things that students can do to get ready for the FAFSA form?
Absolutely. So a couple things I think for students and families to start getting ready is, number one, create your FSA ID, your Federal Student Aid ID account. It's also called a Student Aid account. Now, what did we rename it? It's now also the new term, studentaid.gov account.
Yes,
is a new term that they are using as well. But that's something that students can do now. So every student will be required to complete and create a FSA ID, and then any required contributor. So that way, if it's a dependent student, their parents will be required to create an FSA ID as well. If the parents are married and filed a joint tax return, then only one in the household needs to create the FSA ID. Otherwise, all other required contributors will have to create that. Another thing I think students should do right now is start thinking about those schools that they are interested in attending. So on the FAFSA form, it's going to ask them to list the names of the schools that they're interested in attending. They can list up to 20 schools this time on the 24-25 FAFSA application. Doesn't matter if they've applied or been accepted, so they want to make sure that they list the schools, because that's the only way that those schools will have access to their information, and then we'll be able to let them know what they could or could not receive in financial aid.
Absolutely.
Anything else you can think of off the top of your heads?
I think the other thing, just get together any of your tax records, your investment records. Mm-hmm. If you have an investment firm or a small business, you want to get those records together just to have that handy in case you need those items in order to answer any questions on the FAFSA form. I think this year families will find it to be a lot less intimidating because a lot of your financial information is going to be automatically imported by the IRS for most families. But you still want to have those records available to answer some of the additional questions on the form.
Another thing I wanted to point out, if you happen to already have an FSA ID account, another thing we want to recommend that you do is to log in to your account to make sure that you still remember your username and your password and that it doesn't need to reset. Anybody who is applying for an FSA ID for the first time needs to complete that at least 2 to 4 days before they sit down to do the FAFSA. So that's also important to remember. Make sure that when you go to sit down to enter your username and password, it works. If not, reset it at least 4 days before you begin the FAFSA itself.
Yes, and another good tip for the FSA ID is for students, when you're creating your FSA ID, make sure that you use a personal email address and not one from your high school, because you're probably going to lose access to that once you graduate. Also, make sure if parents are creating an ID and students are creating an ID that you use different email addresses. So you will have to have 2 different unique email addresses when you're creating that ID. It's something you can actually do now. So I would recommend everyone just go ahead and do it now. That way you're all set to go by the time December 31st gets here, and you'll be all set.
Mm-hmm. And another thing is to have an idea of what type of assets you may need to have available at the time that you may need to report. So generally speaking, they may ask you about the balance of your checking or savings account, and that's as of the day you're completing the form. They may also ask about investment records. What they won't ask about, if you are required to list your assets, they don't care about the value of the primary home in which you live, retirement accounts, or life insurance policies. They also don't care about the other assets, such as a personal car, personal boat, things like that.
I get questions about that a lot this year. A lot of people have boats this year. They're like, we have to report our boat. Like, no, you're good.
I haven't had that one yet.
I got a little bit of change. I got boats.
But real estate property, I do get that. Second home, rental properties, things like that. The value of those are needed. And then also, as a reminder, there are some changes with FAFSA and what's reportable and what's not. So If you had a 529 plan and you were required to report that in the past you had to list the value of the 529 plan if you were the parent for all of your children. Now it's only going to be required for the student for whom the FAFSA is being completed. So that's a nice change that is there.
Another nice thing with 529 plans that they changed this year is that in previous years, if a grandparent had a 529 plan, once that plan the money was taken out, the student would have to report that the following year as untaxed income on the FAFSA. They've eliminated that entire requirement. So if a grandparent has a 529 plan, you don't have to report that at all. So that is another benefit that families can look forward to this year.
And then another thing I'm telling students and families to pay attention to is FAFSA is new and it is changing. So we do know that it's going to be released by December 31st. We don't have an exact date, but we know by December 1st it's going to be there. Because it's going to open December 31st, it's not necessarily going to pull all of the information and have it available to all of the schools as well as state agencies immediately. So it's going to be about a good 1 month delay, maybe before your schools get access to that information, as well as your state agencies for them to really process and do a little bit more. So make sure that you stay in touch with those state agencies. Make sure you stay in touch with the schools so you're checking your emails on a regular basis just to see if something is coming up or if there's something that's been pushed back and they said, hey, we made a mistake. The other thing I say is pack your patience, because it's what I'm thinking. They say December 31st, it will open by then. Everyone may flood the website. And then we know what happens when everyone floods a website at one time. It goes slow, sometimes crashes, fingers crossed that will not happen, but pack your patience. So if there are some delays, keep trying. Make sure that you know what your school's deadlines are, if there are any. So you still want to get the FAFSA completed as soon as possible. But if you have to pause because it's overloaded that day, just be patient and keep trying. Anything else we've missed on that part?
And that website is studentaid.gov, in case we didn't mention that. Also, another thing that is changing this year is typically at the end of the FAFSA form, we provide a link to our state grant application for first-time applicants. And this year, because of the different changes that are happening, we are actually going to email the students once that state grant application is ready for you to complete. So make sure that you are checking your email so that once that is available, you will be able to do your state grant application. So students should be on the lookout for that. Once your FAFSA has been completed and the state grant application is ready, we will send an email, and then you'll be able to go to our website from a link on that email to create an account and do your state grant application.
All right. And any good websites or resources that you know off the top of your head to help students just with their college or career planning if they're still trying to figure out and narrow down those schools? Education Planner
is one of our websites. So educationplanner.org is a great website that we have. It has tons of career information on there. You can research careers. One of the best features that I think is on there is that you can actually look at a career, you can research what your annual average salary is projected to be, and then you can see all of the requirements that you need in regards to the education for that particular career. You can even see available job listings for that career. In addition to that, you can watch a video to give you a quick snapshot about a day in the life of that career. So I think Education Planner is a great site. You can also research colleges on there. You can search by major, you can search by location, the type of the school that you want to go into. And let's say you're a student and you're sitting here, because I know I was like this, and you say you have no idea what you want to go into, right? People are constantly asking you, hey, what are you going to be? What are you going to be? I don't know. They have a feature on there where you can actually answer a few questions, and then it will help match up to you college majors that are things that are connected to things that you are good at or interested in. So definitely check out Education Planner. That's a great website to research information.
And I like that too. I do that in classrooms with students.
Yep,
I know we both do.
One the other day. Yep.
And it breaks it out by career cluster first, and then it goes. And the one part that I like is sometimes students say, well, I think I want to go into this. And then they'll answer questions just about their likes and their dislikes. And they're surprised to see that some of the things that they said they were interested in, it actually matches up. And it allows them to do just a little bit more research. Right. And again, one of the reasons I think it's good that they do this now is because on the FAFSA application, you have to list those schools you're interested in. And it's hard to choose a school if you don't know what your major is going to be, if you don't know which schools offer your particular majors, things like that. So it's a nice starting point for a student. If you knock all that stuff out now, when it's time to crack open that FAFSA application, you can plow away. And also the other reason is because in the past, generally once you've completed your FAFSA application, you could go back at any time and add more schools onto the list. Well, you can still add on more schools, up to 20 schools. However, once that FAFSA gets processed, there's going to be a delay in when you can make any updates and changes with this upcoming 24-25 FAFSA. So you may not be able to make any new changes until, let's say, the end of January. And if that is the case, that's going to delay just a little bit when a school will have access to your information. So the more information that you can provide upfront about the schools you're interested in, the more research you do, the easier it makes it.
And I also let students know too, if you are looking at more than 20 schools, and so you want to, let's say you want to add 21 schools, you would actually have to delete one of those schools to add another one. Check with that financial aid office at the college before you delete them to make sure that they've downloaded your FAFSA information first. So if you do have a situation where you're looking at more than 20 and you have to delete a school to add another school, make sure, check with that first school first before you do that.
So I'm going to just give my honest opinion. This is just Tiff talking because we're all family here at the Higher Education Access Corner, right? If you are looking at 21 schools, narrow it down, narrow it down, narrow it down. We are basically running into January, and I know you're still trying to figure it out, but you want to kind of condense that. Why are you still looking at 20 schools? Figure out what it is that you really need to do. Try to hone that down because you're getting close to graduation, and you don't want to kind of still be trying to figure it all out. And you have to think, this is a shortened time period now, whereas in the past we've completed the FAFSA as early as October. So you had a lot more time to figure it out. Schools has had a lot more time to process through and let you know what you may or may not receive in financial aid. So, but when it's time to make your final school choice, hopefully you're only limiting it down to the financial part, because that's what we're waiting on, not to figure out if it's a good financial fit and if it's a good fit for you overall, based on the location, the size. Do they have my major? Is it a place that, I want to go away to? Do you want to be in a rural area, in the suburbs? What's it going to look like? Do they have good food? What's important to you, right?
I just want to jump in there about that part because people laugh when I say that, but the food's not all the same at the different colleges.
It's not.
I've been to a lot of college campuses and their food selections is not the same. And so if you're a foodie like me and you're spending a lot of time there, when you go to that school, make sure you step in and make sure that that's something you're going to be comfortable with, because, you might be spending the next 4 or 5 years of your life there. I'm just saying.
You need to eat well, right?
You need to eat well. You need to be, you want to be satisfied.
So whether you need to eat well or whatever it is at the top of your list, make sure those schools have it, but really try to narrow it down to less than 20 if you can the first time around. And then in addition to that, let's kind of pivot a little and talk about just stress in itself. So we do know that December is a stressful time. We know that FAFSA can be extremely stressful. Parents, schools, a little bit of everybody right now. We don't really know what this new process looks like. So what I say, again, pack your patience, but don't overthink it, because everyone is in this together. We'll get through it together. It's some new changes. It's supposed to be a more streamlined process, but there are folks like us here at FIA who are helping and assisting. We're in your schools. We're doing FAFSA completion sessions. Those post-secondary schools that the students are interested in attending, they're willing to help as well. So if you're a student or a family and you're feeling overwhelmed, just reach out to us, reach out to your schools, reach out to the post-secondary schools for the assistance that you may need, because we don't want you to feel so overwhelmed that you don't complete the form itself. So knock that out. Know that the resources are available. Again, studentaid.gov is the main website for the Federal Department of Education. That's where you'll go to complete the FAFSA application. And they're starting to actually put out some little small videos and snippets on their website about how to actually get set up for everything from a federal student aid account to how to complete the FAFSA. What do you need to do to be prepared? So there's information out there. And then for the educators, there's information out there for educators on the appropriate sites as well. So we're all in it together. I think it's going to make it a lot less stressful for us all if we kind of just follow some of those tips that are out there and kind of work together.
Yeah.
Don't get too overwhelmed. And then because it is December, a couple other things we want to talk about. Just de-stressing, because it is a stressful time.
Yeah.
Whether you're about to hit the crowds, whether you're somebody who gets a little sad over the holidays. Sometimes when you're talking to folks, they're like, oh, it's December, I'm stressed. So what are a few tips that you have for anyone in general to kind of help distress over the season?
I think for one, don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. I know that, with the holidays coming up and you kind of feel pressure to maybe, go out and get all the gifts that people may be wanting. But it's important to also slow down, take time for yourself. I know things that I like to do is I like to have a holiday game night if I can. Get people together. Just slow down, because the most important part of the holidays for me is spending time with people that I love, whether that be friends and family. So try to schedule something like that if you can, whether you're a spades player. I'm not, because that's way too stressful for me.
I am.
Uno,
but you need to know how to play spades.
right.
Don't be on a team.
I like just playing just for fun, but it gets too serious for spades. I'm really good though. Me and my husband are actually really good at taboo. I don't know if you ever played that. Okay, yes. We have to play.
Yeah, we will.
We're undefeated in a couple states.
That's a challenge, I think. Okay.
But Monopoly, I think that things like that can really, help bring people together and just give people an opportunity to laugh and have fun, around the holidays. I think some other things that I would do, that I recommend doing, is having a self-care day, as ladies or even gentlemen do. I see gentlemen doing this too, but get a mani and pedi, maybe a spa day, go for a walk, and then binge watch your favorite TV shows.
There you go. I say do something that brings you joy.
Yeah.
Because it is whether you were the student who just came home from school, whether you're a student who just, you're wrapping up at the end of the year, you're on Christmas break, you're the parent, you're the administrator, whomever you are, we are all human and we run out of steam. And so I think find something that brings you joy, that makes you happy, and pause and do it and be intentional about it. It makes you feel good. It's good for your mental health. I think also, even when it comes to like the seasons and the holiday seasons, it's not always about gift giving and how much. Sometimes folks are like, I can't afford it. That's not what it's about. Then don't indulge. You can just spend quality time. You can make something for someone, or you can choose to do nothing at all. It's whatever you need to kind of get you through is what I say. Another thing, if you find yourself being pulled in too many different directions, create a schedule for yourself. This is what I have planned over this next couple of weeks, and prioritize them. Whatever those priorities are. Maybe you need to catch up and do a little bit more schoolwork. Maybe you have some projects at work you need to get done. Maybe you agreed to meet with family and friends, but it's too much because everyone has something for you to do. Then prioritize. How many are you going to do? Don't take last minute requests, and that's hard sometimes.
Yes,
I get a lot of them. But do what's best for you, do what's best for your family, because you have to find a way to kind of like keep it at an even pill. Do a walk. Take a walk, get some exercise, get some fresh air. I think it's also good. And for those sometimes when you're feeling a little bit down, get a little community service in there. I find that helping others sometimes makes you feel a lot better. And there's so many people who need help that are out there, not just during the holidays, but all the time. So maybe help someone else out. And then truthfully, if you're someone who's truly struggling, do not reach out to get help for yourselves. And I think that's something that sometimes we find hard to do, but there is help available, and it's nothing that you should be ashamed of, because the holidays are not always a good time for everyone. So
it's definitely not. No
matter what everyone decides to do, we hope that everybody who's watching take some time to distress in December. We hope that you're going to knock out that FAFSA application, have a little bit of fun. Catch Diona and I in the future on a new segment once I tell you all that I'm the winner of the Taboo Challenge.
I don't think so.
But whatever you all do, we thank you for joining in. Have a great end of the year. Have a great school year. And thank you all for watching and tuning in to the Higher Education Access Corner.
Thank you.